It's Insco's Adventures out here on Draper on a really not so hot day in Oklahoma. We had a not so hot front come in, but today's special because today is 1 year of kayaking. 1 year ago today, I came out to this beautiful lake right about over there, and found myself a little overwhelmed because I had nobody to show me how to kayak. Never kayaked before. The dock behind me is where I launched the first time, and my little 10-foot, right? 10-foot Zydeco?
Yeah, your little 10-foot Zydeco.
And
no, it's 11.5.
And 11.5, yes. Yes.
11.5.
And what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be kind of kayaking and kind of remembering and talking about a year of adventure. So a year ago, like I said, I'm right over there.
I was over there coming this way.
I called a buddy of mine, Baboon. If you watch this, I called Baboon, and I'm like, Baboon had told me that he had kayaked before, and I'm like, so I call him when I'm out here, and I'm like, Baboon, what do I do? And he's like, I don't know, I've only done it once. I was like, crap. So I'm over here going in circles, and I see right over there a yellow kayak is over there, and I'm like, Lord, thank you. And the yellow kayak was a Pelican, right? Pelican?
A Pelican 10-foot.
And it had Mr. Chando in it, and man.
No, it's my Potomac 10-foot. It's my
Potomac.
yellow Potomac, yeah.
Yeah, but it was yellow, right?
It was yellow.
Yellow, it's yellow. And so we hung out in this area right over here for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, and the wind and the current drifted us almost back over there into those
I
woods.
remember because it kept drifting, because wind was coming out of the south.
Yeah.
It kept pushing, we kept paddling over here.
Yeah.
And man, little do we know that a year later, and we'll be talking about this some later, the adventures, the kayaking that we've done over the past year. And I want to encourage you guys, if you don't kayak, if you've never kayaked, I'm gonna put an offer out later to, if you watch this video and you comment below, we're gonna hook you up and get you a first experience kayaking with Mr. Chando here. He has a YouTube channel, link will be in the description. And man, it's gonna be cool. Today we're just gonna be out here paddling around and having a blast and remembering and thanking God for all the blessings He's given us last year in these two beautiful boats. That over there, my friend, is Bertha. This is Bert. And true or not, every time we go kayaking with these boats, they always
bang
bump
together.
into each other.
Yeah.
So man,
You know,
let's see how this day goes. Let's go around Stanley Draper Lake.
yeah, I tell you, man, this last year has been one of the greatest years, man.
Absolutely.
Getting out and about, you know, like we've talked about, man, what were the odds that we would run into each other, man, and we would be able to just have adventures like we do?
From going to Eufaula in the crazy wind that was supposed to be calm that day, and it was supposed to be warm, and it was like freezing, to Mr. Chando stealing my land, my islands,
and then he stole it back.
That's the story coming soon.
Yeah.
To kayaking on this lake when it was, are you hearing me, 6 degrees below zero.
That was cold, and I couldn't believe it. It was out here. We did it right when the storm came through, and it hadn't yet frozen the lake over. But it was 6 below, and what was it? 8 hours later, the lake was frozen.
Yes, because I came out here a couple of days after, because we were talking about doing it again, and no, it was solid ice. And but man, and here's one thing: people ask me, like, why do you do all those things? And I always say, because we can.
Yeah.
Because we can. Let's get paddling around, and you guys stay tuned. This is going to be an amazing 1 year anniversary of kayaking.
Heck yeah! Stealing the land.
Well, the stealing the water.
Yeah.
So here we are in Insco's Cove, or today we'll give it to Bertha. Bertha's Cove.
Oh no, man. Rightfully claimed. I don't want to start an insurrection here, but
I love this cove. This is a what? South end, right? No, north end. North end of Draper Lake.
Well, it's the northwest.
Exactly.
Northwest Cove, up near the far north end. This is a beautiful cove.
And what's cool about this cove is it's got little coves that are off the cove. You can go in here and get some shade. The water has gone down from the last time I was here. Last time I was here, this was completely covered in water. This cove was only maybe 10 yards in, and that was it. It was covered up in water. So, man, love this lake. And so I'm gonna ask Mr. Chando here. We've had some adventures.
Yes, we have.
So, what's your favorite adventure? One that stands out the most on the different lakes and rivers of Oklahoma?
Well, I gotta tell you what. The first time we were out here, and right off the bat, when we first met, the fact we sat there just BSing and drifting for an hour, whatever, and time flew. I always remember that because I met a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the same thing, man. I was thinking today on my way here, I was like, man, what of all the adventures that have been so cool, the kayaking at 7 degrees, and man, it's actually the friend I made that day.
Yeah.
Because we've been in contact all throughout the past year. Lord willing, we'll be in contact much more, and then we'll be kayaking on the Crystal Sea up in heaven one day.
That's right, man.
But man, yes, the friendship. But here's the thing: how many people miss out on great friendships because they don't get out?
Exactly.
They don't get out. They don't try something
Get out
different.
and try something new, man. And then, like when you ask about the adventures, I got to tell you what, I cannot get the beauty of Eufaula out of my head that we did. I can't get the beauty and awesome feeling of manning up, feeling like, you know, like when we came out here in 6 degrees and the way it was freezing, my GoPro froze over. I literally had froze. My beard was frozen. I had snot sickles, you know, and I felt like, you know, remember in that Tom Hanks movie Castaway, he was like, I have fire. I was like, I manned up.
Yes, yes. Yes, and man, that day, 6 degrees, it was crazy cold. There was a breeze coming out of the north that day. Man, it was cold, but felt good when we got out. And we were like, we kayaked in 6 degrees, 6 degrees below zero weather. It was quite amazing.
My jeans were frozen. Don't ever take a 9-foot Zydeco in windy -6 degrees because you're gonna get it all on you.
And I remember we talked about that because Mr. Chando over here, he did it in his little 9-foot Zydeco. I brought this baby out. You were soaking wet. I was dry.
Yeah.
I was dry. But live and learn, right? Live and learn.
Live and learn. But guess what? You spent 15 minutes getting all your stuff on your boat. Me, on your car. Me, I
threw it in and you were gone.
Stuck my frozen boat in the car and my frozen self by a heater within minutes.
I remember that. Man, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about that adventure out in Eufaula. I'm gonna put my boat somewhere so it stops drifting.
Yeah.
I wanna get back in the shade. Guys, Lake Eufaula. Lake Eufaula.
You have to do it. If you are a kayaker in Oklahoma, you have to do Eufaula.
And there's a little lake that we're gonna talk about here in Oklahoma City that people don't know about. We're gonna talk about the beautiful, creepy West Watkins. So you guys stay tuned.
Creepy creeks.
This video is going to get interesting. So we're in we'll call it Bertha's Cove just for today. Stanley Draper. And like I said, beginning of the video, been 1 year since a year ago today. Short story, I don't want to bore you out, but short story. I got it interesting in kayaking. If you remember, a year ago, kayaks were hard to find because of the COVID stuff and all that stuff. Bicycles and kayaks, hard to find.
Yeah, you couldn't find it.
So I remember I went over to, how funny how God works this out. I was gonna buy a gun. How the choice of buying a SIG or a kayak. I went to H&H Gun here in Oklahoma City, and they had marked the price up of the gun I wanted, so I went, I'm gonna check the kayak. Went to Oklahoma City Kayak, got my boat, came out here to Draper, scared out of my mind, never kayaked before, had my life vest just in case.
You literally just picked it up?
I went straight from OKC Kayak here, like made a beeline here. That's where I meet Mr. Cal Chando over here. So man, we're gonna talk about some of the adventures that we've had and that y'all can have if you get a kayak. And so, man, we're getting into the sun here. Mr. Chando, we have been on, man, how many miles do you think we've paddled in the last year? Hundreds of miles.
Hundreds of miles.
So let's talk a little bit the difference in kayaks. So my first kayak was 11-foot Zydeco made by Dagger, and about 2 weeks later, you went and got a Dagger, a Zydeco, but it's a 9-foot, if I remember right.
All right, let me tell Insco's adventures and all of his subscribers a little something about this gentleman. He is a man of God. He is a great influence as a man, but a horrible influence as a financial advisor to his friends. All right, so we got to be good friends after we met. We just hit it off. Okay, he had this nice Zydeco. I had always had $150 kayaks. I had a little Potomac, yellow kayak that I had. I had 3 kayaks at the time, 4 kayaks at the time. And so after seeing his Zydeco, I went home and I was just, doing the wrong thing. I was pining, I was jealous, I was coveting thy neighbor's kayak, okay? And so that was it. I went to OKC Kayak about a week later, 2 weeks later, and I said, hey, something called a Zydeco, let me look it up. And I told the little 4-foot girl, Melissa, 4'5" or whatever, I said, if it fits in my car, I'm taking it. And so I walked out there, opened it up, and she had it in her hand. She threw it in there, and she goes, good? And I said, good. So I had it. So that's what I got. I got a Zydeco. Then he went and got a Tempest.
Which is the boat that you're seeing right now.
Yeah, and that was it. I went full-fledged, crazy and bought tons of kayaks.
Well, you got the Wilderness Systems, which is the one you're in, but you got this after you ordered the Stratus.
Yes.
Because you had to wait almost a year to get the Stratus. But
I had to wait a long time.
You ordered the Stratus first, but got this one first.
Yes.
So going back to the story, so like I was saying earlier, I was out here, never been kayaking before. I meet Mr. Kayak over here. By the way, his name in my phone is still James Kayak. Never changed it to his real last name. Man, and we had, so here's why I got this boat. So listen carefully, why I got this boat. So for the first month, September to October, we kayaked in our little Zydecos. And I realized that half of my kayaking adventure was trying to keep the boat in a straight line. It's kind of hard, but I didn't know any better. I got on YouTube, started doing research on YouTube. There's this YouTube channel called Kayak Hipster. And I watched a video by Kayak Hipster, and he talked about the ocean kayak, or the sea kayaks, which is the touring kayaks. And this is what he said that got my attention. He said that he and his wife could cover what it would take them 2 hours to cover in their recreational 10, 11-foot kayaks. They could do it in 45 minutes to an hour. That you could actually tour, you could see more in a short period of time. So I get online, and the only kayak I could find available for sale was in a store in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was this guy right here. So I decided to be maybe not so smart financially. Got this thing, Discover card, thank you for helping me out. And got this boat, and man, talking about not looking back. This has been, man, because you can go so much faster, you can cover so much area. Example, we like to go from this end all the way to the dam. I don't know if you remember, but in our Zydecos, it would take us about an hour, 20, hour and 30 minutes. Yeah. In our Zydecos. And these, you can do it in 45 minutes because they just cut through the water. So we're going to talk about some adventures we've had. And again, all these adventures are to encourage you guys to get a kayak. And here's the challenge I'm going to do. If you comment on this video, because I have an extra 2 kayaks at the house, if you comment on this video that you're interested in going kayaking with the, we call it Wilderness Witness team right here, we'll make contact with you. We'll get you out on a kayak. We got a paddle, got an extra paddle, got an extra boat. Bring you out here to Draper on a day when it's not too hot and not too windy, and we'll let you experience what it's like to go kayaking. But to do that, you need to comment on this video, and I promise we will get in touch. Let's talk about West Watkins. So West Watkins is in eastern Oklahoma County, a little bitty lake, right? It's more of a reservoir.
Yeah, it's not too far from Shawnee, but it's still kind of like, I think it's like kind of Oklahoma City. I don't know exactly what but it's a little creepy because there's nothing else around it.
And the thing about West Watkins that makes it creepy, number one, it's in a sunken forest.
Yeah.
So you got all these dead trees that come out, and you go between these dead trees, which kind of is amazing. Those trees haven't fallen down. So you got the sunken forest, and I had been out there twice. You've been out there how many times?
I've been out there a bunch.
Man, real quickly, share with the viewers out there your adventure at West Watkins. I was not along for this adventure, but it has something to do with a tornado.
Yeah. All right, guys. Moral of the story is check the weather before you go kayaking.
Why, Mr. Chando? Why?
Because a year or two ago, I think it was 2019, maybe it was 2020. I can't remember. The time has gone in the pandemic. My sister and I took my RV and my kayaks out to West Watkins for 4th of July weekend, the day before 4th of July. And it was beautiful. Sun was out, perfect weather. We were touring West Watkins, and we go across the lake, and we're over in the main sunken forest area, just cruising around, having a blast. All of a sudden, I look off in the distance, and I see that there is some, looks like rain clouds and storms, like really dark. And so I tell my sister, I was GoProing, and I said, hey, shut off my GoPro. It was at the front of my boat. I couldn't reach it. So she hit it. And I started talking to her about, hey, what do you think that is? Is that a storm? And do you think we ought to get heading? 30 seconds later, that storm was going like 60 miles an hour, straight line, you know, on the ground speed. A like EF1 waterspout tornado dropped.
Man.
150, 200 foot from us. And it was about 50 foot wide. Now I knew it wasn't gonna like suck us up or anything, but it dropped so fast, and it was on the ground going 55, 60 miles an hour, and it passed right maybe 40, 50 foot, maybe even less. It could have been even 40, 35 foot from us. I had to turn our kayaks into it. The winds whipped up, you know, even though we didn't get hit directly, the winds whipped up crazy, and it wrecked us, because that storm, we were stranded after it went past in the 50-mile-an-hour winds, and my sister could not kayak in that. You know, she was panicking. We finally got to shore. We were maybe 60 foot from shore when it happened. We finally got to shore. We were stranded there for hours waiting for the winds to die down so we could get across the lake. But yeah, that was crazy adventure. And the next time I went was when I went with Senior right here, you know, Insco's Adventures, and it was a much better experience.
Well, and what was cool about Watkins, and again, you won't discover this if you don't get out. So we went to West Watkins. The first time I went, I didn't have a real good adventure because I was over by the dam, and I guess they started to draw water out, and the water started to churn, and that was scary. The second time we go, we decided to go into a little cove, and we found that the cove had like a river, a creek, that was coming into a cove. He had never seen it, I had never been there, and so we get on this little creek. Man, we went like a mile, right?
Yeah.
We go to a mile. We actually come to this bridge where the highway is. The creek goes under this bridge, and there's like a little bitty waterfall that was coming down. And man, we went all over West Watkins and finding these little creeks, rivers that fed into the lake. And there's a video out there. I have a video on my YouTube channel. You can look for it. It's called West Watkins. Again, those are things that you will not ever experience if you don't get out there and give it a shot.
Remember when we took one of those little creeks? You know, I've got the video on my YouTube channel called Creepy Creeks, and we take these big old giant boats into a creek that literally at points was what, 6 foot wide? And so it was a miracle. We found a place, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile up, where it kind of, the logs and everything had fallen down, where it was right about 18, 19 foot. We did like a 49,000 point turn.
Yes, I remember that. That would have been a day for the Zydeco's. Absolutely a day for the Zydeco's. But we like our wilderness system, so yeah, I remember that. It was super narrow. And man, West Watkins, that's on what side of West Watkins was that? On the north side?
west side.
Yes, and here it is, McLeod, the town of McLeod, Oklahoma.
McLeod.
That is where West Watkins officially is, and it's the water supply from McLeod. So, man, we're gonna get paddling a little bit more. We'll stop here in a little bit. We'll talk about another adventure. Man, I want to talk about a place called Stinchcombe. Yes, Stinchcombe, and we're gonna talk about his sister paddling upside down. Y'all stay tuned. Here we are touring. Got my speed up, which is an advantage of a 17-foot boat. You can really get your speed up to a point where you can cover a lot of area in a short period of time. If you see, like if I see two sticks sticking out of the water, man, you can make a beeline, go right in between them. Very easy to maneuver, especially when you're on that straight line. So we're gonna go over to the other side of the lake and check out the Cadillac that has its nose buried into the ground. So let's go back here. We are on right here to get you guys look around. Boats down there. It's a little small beach we found on the east side.
Yeah, east side, and hey, we got a little bit of shade here.
Got some shade here.
We got some big thick leaves. Hopefully no big thick snakes in there, but
or
hey,
spiders.
Ticks.
So again, we're going back to talking about what we've experienced the last year. There's a really cool place in Oklahoma if you haven't been. Even I know people who've never been to Lake Overholser. Actually, people, yeah.
Wow.
Lake Overholser, the North Canadian River runs through Lake Overholser. So I want to talk about Stinchcombe Wildlife Refuge, which when I first heard about it, I was like, what's so special about that? Then I went with Mr. Kayaking here, and it's
awesome.
Pretty cool. It's so what you do is you go to Lake Overholser here in Oklahoma City, go to the north end, right?
I think it's the north end.
The north end of Lake Overholser, and just look for all the kayaks, because there's always a bunch of kayaks, especially if it's a nice day. And it's hard to describe. It's like it's like you paddle into a different world. Not
you go
in
underneath
Oklahoma.
that old Route 66 bridge that's
Yes.
like reddish rusted.
Yes.
And you take a left, and then you're in a whole new world. Just, it's calm waters right there, about 200 foot wide, right when you get there. And then you turn around and you just go up all the way, probably about 3 miles till it gets really narrow.
It's the North Canadian River, so it actually goes all the way out to the Texas Panhandle. If you're going against the current, if you're going west, if you go east, you go to Lake Overholser. You could actually go to Oklahoma City. You could actually paddle all the way to the Gulf of Mexico.
That is, you don't come up across debris dams.
True, and there are some dams that are in your way when you get past OKC. But man, we're talking about for a second, man. So our adventure out at Stinchcombe, my first time I went, we went in the Zydeco's.
Yeah.
And you were in your yellow boat, your famous yellow Potomac. And what's cool about Stinchcombe are the little beaches.
Oh yeah, there's beaches everywhere. You can pull up anywhere, and you got muddy beaches, and you got sandy beaches, and you almost think you're in Florida with some of those sandy beaches at times.
And
it's
you got
crazy.
the tall grass on the sides of the riverbank.
Sometimes you'll see the grass. It's the big, almost like sawgrass. 6-8 foot just waving in the wind, and it's like you get transported to a different world.
Almost like from what I've seen, the Amazon River. If you want to some video clips of the Amazon River, but it's right here in Oklahoma City. So we went to Stinchcombe. I remember it was a windy day, pretty windy day. Even when you're up in the river part, the wind doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
We went with your sister, right?
Yes.
Just tell us a funny story. Hopefully Michelle gets to watch this, and I'll tell her that's your idea. She can blame you.
I roast her on my video that I posted, so.
We're out there paddling, and she's really struggling.
Yeah, she's in the yellow Potomac. It doesn't track very well, and she's struggling right to left. She almost gets herself turned around in a circle. One, because she isn't she's kind of sitting off to one side, in the kayak seat in the sit-in, so she's a little off balance anyway. But I can't believe I didn't notice it. She had her paddle upside down, and so you wouldn't think it would make that big of a difference, but with her being a little off center, not being a good kayaking, a novice paddler, it just created problems. And she was just complaining the whole time about how it was going circles. She didn't like this kayak. And then Mark kind of looks at me and he goes, hey, her paddle's upside down. And I looked at it and I started laughing, and then he yelled at her, you know, said, hey, your paddle. And so you can see in the video where she kind of looks at it like,
oh crap.
Oh yeah. It turns
she flips it around, and then we went on. Man, that was a cool day. We've been to Stinchcombe maybe 3 times, I think. I went up there once. Last time I went up by myself. It's like last time you went by yourself. I went all the way up to the river, to the bridge that everybody tries to get to, about 3 miles.
Yeah, that's where I went too. In my almost 18-foot tsunami that is not made for curves. Oh my God, I was so sore because trying to turn, because the current gets really pretty fast up there.
Because you're going against the current.
Yeah.
Now coming back's kind of cool because you got the current with you.
Oh yeah, I was flying.
But man, it was so cool. So guys, if you want to go kayaking with Insco's Adventures and Kayaking Cow Channel, you got to hit us up. Let us know. Leave a comment down here. We'll find a way to get you in a boat. We got a boat, got a couple extra boats that you can use. We'll go to Stinchcombe. Stinchcombe, a lot of people, I'll be surprised. I mean, a lot of people I talk about, they ask me about kayaking and I say Stinchcombe and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I tell them about it, like, never heard of it. It's like a lot of people have never heard about the wildlife refuge down by Lawton, the Wichita Falls.
Oh, yeah.
The Wichita Wildlife Refuge. It's like you got to get out and you got to explore.
Yeah.
So, man, we're going to...
place I can think of to describe Stinchcombe.
All right.
Anyone out there who's ever been in Florida and you've actually kayaked or canoed in places where there are manatees, that's kind of what it reminds me of, because I lived in Florida and got to do that, and so it absolutely reminds me of that. Now the water's not as clear, but if it was a little clearer, you could absolutely see manatees. You would think, if you saw one pop up, you would literally think you were in Central Florida.
And the biggest, I guess, another big difference between the Florida, like the Everglades and the stuff, they got crocodiles. We got water moccasins. We don't have no alligator crocodiles, but we have. Last time I went up, ran into 2 little water moccasins. They're more scared of you than you can be of them, maybe.
One tried to get in my sister's kayak. I wish I would have got that on video.
Gold. That'd have been gold.
YouTube gold.
So we're going to go look for the Cadillac in the ground. That's buried in the ground.
Cadillac in the ground somewhere.
We're heading towards that way. So, man, we'll be right back, and we're going to continue remembering a year of adventures. We are headed to Insco's Island, kind of our landmark. From Insco's Island, we're gonna cross over to a cool little beach. And we should find a bike trail with a cool Cadillac. See if we can find it.
Now, I don't know if you remember, I think it's right over there. You kind of see there's a duck blind over there too. You still see it. You see it? It looks like a square, almost.
Huh.
Looks like it's like 20 foot long. But I think we're good.
Boats are back there. We are looking for the bike trail that will take us to the blue Cadillac.
Although I'm picking up 1,000 million stickers.
But as you guys can see, I have Mr. Chando up there to ward off the rattlesnakes.
That's right.
He screams and I run.
Taking one for the team.
See, man, the bike trail, see the water over there?
Look how beautiful it is. I mean, Oklahoma can, look
beautiful.
at this. This is awesome.
But the water goes right up to the trail.
It does.
Further that way, yeah.
I think where the break is, right here, there's a break between those darker green trees right there.
It's got to be
I
the
think
trail.
that's where it's at. Right before that, it's got to be a break. That's got to be it.
And I've been on this bike trail a gazillion times. Just never approached it from this angle.
No, we haven't. That's got to be it right there, that sign.
Yep.
How do we...
That's gonna be the...
Oh, hey, right here. Right here.
I see it, yeah.
Yeah, you got to come through it over here. There's a little break. I can see it. People will walk through it. And probably where people have been bit by 1,000 snakes, but hey.
Well, right here.
There's one. That's better than the one I was looking at.
And there is the famous Stanley Draper bicycle trail.
Ugh. I feel like I just came through like Jurassic Park area, man.
Isn't that a beautiful trail?
Yes, it is. Oh, man. Check that out. There it is.
Yep. I have been on this trail many times.
I never made it this far.
That was not a good adventure, was it?
No, it wasn't.
So as we walk over to the Cadillac, let's talk about Lake Eufaula.
Lake Eufaula.
So this past spring, we decided to go to Lake Eufaula. And I'll tell you guys how much of a great friend this guy is. So my wife and I, we got a hotel. We went out and staged at Lake Eufaula, and this guy drives his kayak all the way out to Lake Eufaula so we can kayak together on
That's right.
Saturday, which was super cool of him to do that, because like kayaking with someone's always better than kayaking alone.
Heck yeah, found that out. It always is.
So we had looked at the forecast, and it was supposed to be 72, 73 degrees, 5 to 8 mile an hour wind.
Yeah, no, it was 4 to 8. Yeah, well, it could have been 5 to 8. Close enough.
And what was it like when we got there?
Dude, it was storming like crazy. A storm just come through. It was raining. It was hot. And the winds were going like 35, 40 miles an hour. Where we had swells at 2.5, 3 foot. And I was like, you know, Emily Sutton. Watch out, watch out. Yeah, Emily Sutton did not do good on her forecast that day.
No meteorologist did
No
well.
meteorologist did.
But I remember sitting at this little park let by Lake Eufaula, waiting for Mr. Kayak to show up, and man, the wind is blowing. It's cold.
It got cold.
It's kind of miserable, and I'm thinking, Oklahoma. This is Oklahoma. So man, we finally get there. We're out kayaking. The wind is crazy. We're going into the wind. About 12 o'clock, it stopped.
Yeah.
Sun comes out. Beautiful day.
And it was like almost like Bahamian water. Like you could see it in places emerald.
It's gorgeous. But we're also thinking, man, since we're going into the wind, we're gonna have that tailwind coming back. We're thinking we're gonna make double time on the way back, right? Oklahoma plays with you.
Yeah.
As soon as we start heading back, the wind stops.
Stop. And then it stopped. And I was like, you gotta be, but it made it glassy for a while, and it was beautiful.
Yes.
But no tailwind on the way home as it was getting dark. And we got there right as basically the dusk was settling.
Yes.
It was getting dark.
And now here's the thing I will remember, nothing remember about Eufaula. That was the night my wife found out I had an iPhone.
Now, somebody, all right.
Please enlighten us in your kayak.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, let me tell you.
My wife is not supposed to know I had an iPhone, just saying,
Right.
but
If your preacher friend tells you, he's got to say, hey, my wife doesn't know I have an iPhone. You know, you got to tell me that, because he's looking at something on his phone and he goes, I can't see it on this. I said, what, you can't look at it on your new iPhone 12 or something like that?
Yeah.
And he kind of looks at me like, Oh, she doesn't know. And I suddenly get it. And all of a sudden, she does this number. She goes, iPhone 12 or something like that. When did you get this? And I look at him, and he's like, I've had it for months.
Which is true. I had it for months, but oh man, it was my fault. I should have told him. But hey, we're here at the Booyah. The Booyah.
Look at this. It actually, when you said it said Booyah, it literally says Booyah.
It says Booyah, man. Look at that. What year do you think that caddy is?
I don't know, but that is cool. That's almost as cool as Cadillac Ranch, man.
It's a lot prettier.
Yeah,
the scenery is.
It's not all.
Yeah, man, it is.
That is cool. I've never known this was out here, man.
It is pretty cool. So this is the Booyah car, which is a 1959 Buick LeSabre.
Ah!
Booyah, this car is for you, the cyclist, pedestrian, explorer who has enjoyed yourself and kept it going. The sculpture is dedicated to my 5-year-old daughter, Olivia Rose, whose great-grandmother, Susie Miller, brought the Buick LeSabre in Oklahoma City new in 1959. As her first and only car, it was passed down to Olivia's great-grandmother, Rosalind Miller, then to her loving grandmother, Rebecca Wheeler. My mother, it was the first car I was ever in as a newborn, and eventually became my first car when I turned 16. Through the strange series of events, it lost its front and became destined for a life other than the great American roadways. And now she stands here like the woman who drove her, resilient, creative, and forced to inspire. Booyah!
That is a cool car, man. I gotta tell you what. I tell you, it looks like, now, that actually looks like, I had no idea what kind of car it was. Did this one have like a 10-foot front end?
Yeah.
Okay.
And super wide.
I dated a girl right before I met my ex-wife. Months before, like a month before I met her. I dated a girl for a while. Drove one of these in Abilene, Texas. And I never knew what it was. I didn't look at the back and look at the name. Yeah. I always wondered what it was, and I'm looking at it. This is it. What was it? A Buick LeSabre 59?
59 Buick LeSabre.
Man, beautiful car.
Well, there you go. On a beautiful trail. And if you follow the trail down that way, man, the water, the lake comes right up to the trail.
Wow.
And yeah, it's 13 miles around the lake on this bicycle trail. I will probably be going around it sometime tomorrow. I haven't shot a video on my bicycle yet. I need to do that.
So cool.
So we wrap up this video of a year of kayaking adventures. There's one lake in Oklahoma City we haven't talked about.
That is true.
And this is a lake that I would say gets the worst rap for Oklahoma. They nickname it the Dirty Bird.
Yeah, I've always thought it was supposed to be dirty, awful,
nasty.
Don't go there, nasty, yeah.
And so it's the Lake Thunderbird down in Norman. We went to Lake Thunderbird, oh man, was it last fall?
Last fall.
The first time we went, we were blown away. Lake Thunderbird, it's big. It's got Wolfpack Island in the middle of it.
Lots of places to get off and explore.
Lots of places to get off and explore. Now, remember our adventure the first time we went? We got tickets.
Oh yeah.
So we get tickets because we get there and we park our trucks, truck and car. We take off kayaking, when we get back, there's tickets because you were supposed to pay for parking. And we were like, what the heck?
Well, there's no signs.
There was no sign.
And literally. And so I went and I pulled up and I found what was like supposed to be like the ranger station or the visitor center.
Yeah.
And a cop went past and I flagged him down. And I said, hey, where are these signs? He goes, they're right here. I said, there's no signs there. He goes, let me show you. Goes down there and he goes, there's no signs. Someone had stolen the signs.
Yeah, someone had stolen the sign that day. And so we got pardoned.
We got pardoned.
We got pardoned. We actually got a phone call the next day from like the main ranger, the lady. She was
the lady who was like, does it.
And she's like, don't worry about it. We took care of it, but next time you got to pay like $10. I think it's $10
yeah,
a day.
Yeah, $10. And the next time we went, the signs were up. The
signs were up. And then I remember February 27th. It was still cold. We went out to Thunderbird. Do you remember the fog?
Oh, how can you forget the fog?
Tell us about the fog.
Okay, literally, I thought I was in like off the coast of Maine. The fog descended on it, and you were just going through a slight little breeze, little wave, and it was amazing. That fog, I'll never forget it because it was so cool. It was eerie. Like
Very
the
eerie.
movie The Fog, you think there's like, you know, ghost pirates, you know, pirate ghosts out there. It was eerie, but just paddling through it, and especially when there were boats way off in the distance where like you couldn't hear it, just the waves going past.
Yeah.
One of my best memories.
So we got out there. Remember, I remember we got out there, and when we got out there, it wasn't bad. Even when we started coming back to the parking area to get back to, we're wrapping up our paddling. Remember, the fog just kept getting deeper and thicker and thicker. And then finally, before we left, the dock next to where we parked was covered in fog.
Yeah, you couldn't even see it.
That was crazy. That was like, that wasn't the last time. Last time I went to Thunderbird, remember we went over to that, there was a little dock all the big boats were at.
Yes.
And we launched from there, and man, time goes by fast when you're kayaking on the water.
We were out there 4, 5, 6 hours, and it was a blast. Now, I'll tell you, Oklahoma is great. I'll tell you, I love Oklahoma because people still were getting out. Now, there was zero social distance out there.
No, it was not.
No, zero social distance out there, but it was good to see people enjoying it.
Enjoying the outdoors. I remember we went to that one dock where we got like went and bought like a Diet Coke, and we sat there, and the people were super friendly.
Just so awesome.
That's called Lake Thunderbird. So, if you've heard bad things about Lake Thunderbird, go check out Lake Thunderbird. It's a beautiful lake on Oklahoma, right here in the metro area.
Lots of cliffs. I mean, there was lots of high overhanging places, you know, that just were cinematic.
And some luxurious boats.
Oh, there's boats out there that at least 2 million plus. Some big old 60, 70 footers like you would see in the sea.
Yeah, yachts.
Yeah, and you see all the college kids on it. It's got to be OU, you know.
Absolutely. So yeah, we want to invite you guys to join us right here, Insco's Adventures and Kayaking with Chando, because the fall is here and we're going to be out kayaking more and more now that it's not blazing hot.
Exactly.
So I'll probably may do one more little tidbit here, show you guys where we land at, and man, just follow us along.
That is cool looking. I love seeing this sawgrass.
Yeah.
Never been down this cove.
First time.
One cove I've never been down.
See how peaceful it is?
This is going to look amazing when I color grade this. They shoot it in low and flat mode.
All right, so we're headed back to point 10 here on Draper. Cool story. Since we're going over our last adventure of the last year, man, I think it was in November because it was election day. Had the day off. Came out here with my brother. My brother, was the first time he ever kayaked, and it was maybe 10-mile-an-hour wind when we came out here around noon. By 1 o'clock, being that it's typical Oklahoma, the wind went from 10 mile an hour to 30 mile an hour. huge waves. It was not a pleasant experience, which sucked for my brother because I was trying to get my brother into kayaking. And my brother John, if you probably will see this, he's one of my subscribers. It looked like, I imagined it this way: two little boats in this huge bathtub and a kid playing and making waves, and we're just in there fighting to get back to shore. So my brother John, if you look around me right now, the water is calm, it's peaceful, very small waves. You need to come back out and go kayaking again, because most of the time Draper's beautiful. So we are headed back to point 10, right?
Point 10.
Point 10.
We probably got about 2 miles to go.
Yeah,
About
probably.
2 miles.
About 2 miles of paddle left, and we still got about a couple hours of sunlight, so not too worried about it.
No, we got this.
And man, it's a nice day. It's a little warm, but there will come a month pretty soon where we're gonna be like, man, I miss that warmth.
Yeah.
I miss that heat. When we're shivering.
Yeah.
Whew. Wind is gone.
Yeah, it is.
Calm.
We get a little bit of this calm is awesome.
9.97 miles.
I was quite surprised there were spots over there, you know, in the boat. We just launched it. I've never seen one here.
Labor Day. So this wraps up another day of kayaking, the 1-year anniversary of Insco's adventures and learning how to do this incredible hobby. I got the boats loaded up on our vehicles here at Point 10 at Draper Lake. If you've never been to Point 10, this is what Point 10 looks like. And it's been a great, beautiful day. Let's go see if Mr. Chando has any last words as we wrap this kayaking adventure
Last
up for the day.
words are, probably gonna do it again just the same very soon. 10 killer,
Absolutely.
Lake Murray, maybe Texoma. Definitely gotta do Eufaula again. Absolutely.
Yes.
Stinchcombe, all of it.
So what you guys got to do is you gotta hit subscribe. Yes, button right over here. Subscribe to Kayaking with Chando, because we're gonna be putting the most amazing content for kayaking. So
now, also, for those of you out there don't understand, the editing process can be a little tedious. I have some stuff from Eufaula, what, 4 months ago, scheduled to come out in 2033.
You guys heard that? It was 2032, but it's been back to the fall of 2033. It should be hitting Kayaking with Chando. So you guys follow him, and man, have a great Labor Day. Be safe.
We'll probably have this up by the end of the night.
This will be up here in a little bit, in a few hours. Yeah, man. Until our next adventure, y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.
All right.